we're going to talk about kind of the education industry and the technology industry, what is known as essentially EdTech.
Which is going to be really interesting because I don't view myself as a techie person, but yet I work in EdTech.
Over the past probably 2 months, I've been slowly pivoting my thoughts around that because I've been having conversations.
And I remember using Edline when I taught in Phoenix, and we weren't using comments. And then we got sold the package, or they told us that we could use comments. And then it was, everybody needs to write a comment on every subject, for every student, for everything.
Hi, welcome to Learning Out Loud. I'm Dr. Brandi Robinson, the owner and founder of Learner Journey Labs.
And I'm Sarah Fusilier, Chief Chaos Coordinator at Learner Journey Labs. I've just decided that's my title because I can't remember the actual one.
I think it kind of changes and evolves, actually.
Right. But I feel like it all falls under chaos coordinator.
Well, that's so for those of you listening, Sarah and I normally work together at my house during the day. So basically, Sarah becomes the filter that everything passes through. So it's cohesive and it's focused and it's well communicated. And I sent so many emails this week that people were like, I don't have the context for what you're asking for. And I was like, now you guys know how important Sarah is.
Right.
Because you catch that stuff and you're like, Brandi,
Right.
you did not disseminate the correct information on how to execute your idea. And this week and last week, there were several moments where I was like, I was not with Sarah. This is all Sarah's fault. So, today we're going to talk about kind of the education industry and the technology industry, what is known as essentially EdTech. But we have a possibly slightly controversial take on things here. And that take is that if you're going to engage with EdTech, you need knowledge of the technology and knowledge of education so that you can actually merge the two thoughts together to actually be something called EdTech.
Which is going to be really interesting because I don't view myself as a techie person, but yet I work in EdTech.
Yeah, I think over the past probably 2 months, I've been slowly pivoting my thoughts around that because I've been having conversations and I've been working on more technical projects where I say something and I'm just waiting for everyone to react to it. And it's quiet because no one's reacting because they don't know what I'm saying. And so kind of for some background, I teach in the summers, I teach courses on EdTech for the doctoral program that I work in. And a lot of our conversations lately have been around professional development and around the fact that in the education world, we tend to launch a new technology and we just give the bare minimum training in
Mhm.
how to use it. And then we expect everyone to use it with fidelity and to use it correctly and to intrinsically understand it well enough to communicate it to students.
Which is great in theory, but doesn't happen.
Right. And so when we were having this discussion with my students, we were using AI as kind of a launching point, but many of them were sharing stories about we implemented we had Edline. What is it that your son's school uses? The online portal.
Well, it's called TigerNet because it's based for his school, but it's Blackbaud or not Blackboard, it's Blackbaud.
Okay.
Uh,
So they were talking about we get this grading system, we get this thing that pushes to parents and we can't troubleshoot it. And we also don't understand how it syncs, how it works. And basically, they just come in and they're like, you're going to do this and you're going to push this button.
mhm.
And so we were kind of talking about how the tech world, it's almost like they're dialed in on education and they know how to keep us in the dark so that we pay for the next tool.
Mhm.
And, as educators, we're very smart people. I don't buy into the fact that teachers are not inherently smart,
Right.
but I think that the technology industry keeps us at arm's length from the tech
Mhm.
so that they keep landing large contracts.
Makes sense. Because I know there's issues all the time, like, James couldn't log in. He doesn't log in as much to see Brandon's grades as much as I do because I am a certified, self-admitted grade stalker, and have been known to get grades during the day and then email my child with how or why or good job, all it's a broad range. Um, but he couldn't log in. Like, he didn't change anything, he didn't do anything, he couldn't log in, and it took lots of emails, and finally he had to email the principal and the president of the school for anything to happen. And then I have several friends who somehow no longer get the emails from the school, and not even just because everything is sent through TigerNet, Blackbaud, whatever, and they don't get the emails. So there's several friends that I have to forward every email to.
Mm,
Or if it's the newsletter, post a link in our class group me, in our class Facebook, and nobody can figure out why they're not getting the emails.
yeah. And so that's kind of a good example too of just like a simple software that we should understand well enough to know, like, how do I go and add someone's email?
Right.
How do I, do I tell, how do I not tell a parent you have to clear your cookies? Because that's the thing we all get when you call for support. They're like, "Did you clear your cookies?" And I'm like, "I cleared my cookies. I turned my computer off and on already. I closed my browser. I tried it incognito. So the top four things you're gonna tell me, I already did."
Right.
But keeping educators in the dark like that, then they can upsell you the next thing that's supposed to be more user friendly. And then even when you buy like a training package, you don't actually get trained on the technology. You only get trained on the output.
Right. The process of how to do it, not the why.
Right.
And
And
even the how can be not the best.
yes, like professional development is probably a whole separate topic, but indeed, it is terrible. Like, we're not really taught to understand. We're taught more like, here's the job aid, here's the process, don't question it, and just go.
And I remember using Edline when I taught in Phoenix, and we weren't using comments. And then we got sold the package, or they told us that we could use comments. And then it was everybody needs to write a comment on every subject for every student for everything. And then like only half of us could do it. And so then we were going across, oh, well, you figured it out. So, okay, show me how to do it. And some people still could never figure out or get it done.
Yeah, and it's like a kind of a grassroots campaign too of like, who do I know in my building that I can go across the hallway and ask? And even in higher ed, it's not any better in higher ed. Like, we have a ed tech department or the IT support that comes in, does a 20-minute thing, and they're like, bada bing, bada boom. Now you go off and you do it. And that's inherently bad. And for most of us, not understanding the technology does not help us do our jobs better. It actually makes us much worse at it,
Right.
And so I'm going to pick on a certain AI provider today, probably a lot. Um, so instead of teaching teachers how AI works and how to use a cheap AI, okay,
Hmm.
so you've got chat, which is like $20 a month or like 30 minutes of free usage. That's pretty inexpensive when you're thinking about, investing in AI. You've got Gemini, which has even more affordable plans. You've got Claude, which in my opinion is a ripoff because they use tokens and they always constantly upcharge you. But now we have this Magic School on the scene. And Magic School is like, instead of learning how to engage with AI appropriately to generate a good lesson plan, you can just open the lesson plan agent, or I don't even know what it is. I call it a GPT before I would call it an agent, but you can just open the lesson plan thing and just like tell it what you need.
Oh, and it creates the whole lesson plan for you?
Yes. But like
'Cause I think I heard about this, but my brain went to Magic School Bus, not
Yes, it is just like the no, it's not. It's actually horrible. But yes. So instead of teaching a teacher, okay, if you want to get a good lesson plan, you're going to upload an exemplar because AI does really well when you upload an exemplar. So if I was doing it in chat, I would upload an exemplar. I would give it information about my grade level, my class, what are my students like, what do they struggle with, what is my experience as an educator, because if you're not engaging with AI as the expert that you are, you get trash. So instead of teaching that to teachers and really like letting them be secure that they're not being replaced, and instead that like here's this tool that can leverage your unique gifts and your unique experiences over the past however many years. Instead, we're just going to open this portal in Magic School and you're just going to tell it what you want a lesson on, and we fed it a template for the district and you just get an answer.
Okay, but then how is that really different than the lesson plans that come from the textbook company?
It's like $4 million more.
Oh, so we're paying on top of what we're already paying.
Yeah. So when you do Magic School, you're paying typically for a district level membership
Okay.
for like, it's like a range of employees.
Mhm.
And the price point, depending on your district, does vary. And depending on your state, does vary. But it's at least 5 times the cost of just an individual license.
Make it make sense, because it's not making sense.
It doesn't make sense to me at all. Like that's the whole
Well,
thing.
and all I can since I obviously did not hear correctly when I saw this, since I thought about what was her name, Miss Frickle or whatever, um, in my brain as you're explaining it, I'm like, that comes with the lesson plan in the book, and that's an like, those are terrible, I feel like. No
Yeah.
offense to any publishers, but, like, half the time I would be reading, and then I'd be like, "This doesn't work."
Right, and so you would iterate on it, like,
Mhm.
that's the process, and instead of teaching teachers how to use AI to iterate in the same way that you would iterate, we're just gonna hand you this tool, and we're gonna tell you, like, "Here's this magical prompt that you use, and we've preloaded it with your district stuff." So, we've basically given you no skills and a job aid, and we wonder why teachers don't know how to use AI.
Right,
Because consistently, the research is telling us, y'all, that teachers feel the least secure in how to use AI.
and they're in one of the fields where AI is probably used most prevalently? Is that how you
Hmm.
say the word?
Yeah,
Where it's used the most.
exactly. And so we have again this grand canyon of a gap that is being perpetuated by these ed tech companies because again, instead of saying let's have a professional development. Let's explore, get in there, prompt it, talk to it, iterate with it, and learn from that. We're just getting like, here's this custom solution. It has 26 different apps. You click the icon to go into lesson plans. If you're doing an IEP, you click this to go into the IEP.
Okay, s let's stop there for a second because my mind also just went into a completely different spot. If it's an IEP and this is an AI tool, what about student privacy?
So generally speaking, and this is where I think that it fails on two counts. It's a gated system, so it doesn't feed the
Okay.
larger model. So ethically that is fine. But what it gives you is the generic template. So you can go in there and tell it like I have a student on the spectrum that's this age, that's this. But like we all know if you've had any experience working with students that are neurodivergent that every child is different.
Right.
And again, instead of showing the teacher how to feed information ethically into a model and iterate and tailor it to the student, now we're just going to send you into this app that gives you generic information.
I still feel like there could be student privacy, like, what happens if there's ransomware or things like that? I mean, still, I'm iffy on that part of it still.
Let's assume we don't put in their names.
Okay.
Let's
Then
just
I'm cool
assume
with
like
that.
we're putting in like,
Yeah. But even then, there's things that are so different. Like I had a student when I taught first grade, she struggled with reading and she was going through the process of dyslexia. And I really couldn't make any accommodations because she technically didn't have an IEP. But when I was writing her mama a note, she started reading it and asking me why I was writing what it was. And she was across from me. So we realized for whatever reason, if it was upside down, she
yeah,
could read. She could read upside down and backwards, but don't give her a paper front side up.
yeah.
So everything for the rest of the year, she would turn her paper around, read the questions, turn it back around, and sometimes if I had an extra copy, I would give it to her to speed things up. But she could read perfectly fine backwards and upside down.
Mhm.
And since she didn't have an IEP, I'm like, somebody was like, "That's an accommodation." I'm like, I if she takes the paper and she does it, I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
So I'm not making the accommodation. She's figured out what works for her. But an AI is not going to tell you that.
Right.
Or and I still don't even understand how she could do that versus
Right. And I think like when we talk about education, one of the reasons people are so hesitant to use AI is they feel like it replaces them, right?
Mhm.
So we're giving you a solution that we don't teach you how it works or even like how you could iterate with it using your unique skill set that you have and all the experience that you have. We're just handing this to you, which is then just perpetuating the fact that we're trying to get rid of teachers,
right.
which I don't think is the case. Like, I think that teachers have a unique skill set and that there's no getting rid of us, and that we're starting to kind of see that like come full circle because what Magic School and some of these providers are putting out is terrible. Like, the output is bad because, again, we're not teaching teachers, like, here's how it works. Here's the way that you can just conversationally talk to it. Like, we're still, y'all, I'm going to pick on LinkedIn probably a lot over the next few weeks. But when you crowdsource from the population at large, information that's technical, I want you to think back to your middle school classroom and Wikipedia and how you were taught not to use things that weren't .gov, .edu.
Right.
Like, I might as well go on Reddit and look up. Like, everyone knows not to go on Reddit because it's just like anyone who has an opinion can post on it. This social media is no different.
Right.
So when I go on LinkedIn, I still see people posting that you have to like scientifically prompt AI and that you have to have prompt engineering. And I'm like, no,
Mm-mm.
like if you only saw the stuff that I put into the AI, it is definitely not prompt engineering.
No, and I tend to stick more to using the same prompts over and over again because I typically am doing the same thing over and over again. But even I, who likes things very orderly and very type A, have come to realize that sometimes you got to break that
Yeah.
and you've got to have the conversation. Or you at least gotta stop and be rather than, like, restart it, be like, "Are you dumb? Like, that's not what I'm asking,
Yeah.
so fix it." Um, and I like to ask mine a lot. I know you ask it to take a closer look. I'm always like, "Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure now?"
Yeah.
Because it lies.
Oh yeah. It's like
But
it's a bigger liar than my kid when he was 16. Like,
yeah.
absolutely. But again, like when I'm looking at that crowdsource of information, and because I've been putting out content on AI pretty heavily over the past 2 months,
Yeah.
like my feed is very key to like a lot of people talking about AI. And I'm sitting here in the educational space. And I think I am going to have to admit that I am much more of a technical person than like I think I am at times.
Yeah.
I don't think I can hang with the purely IT engineering guys, but like I can hang pretty closely to them, especially if I've got like a large language model that I can ask questions. But as someone who's training frontier AI at a premier lab, as someone who's seen all this happen, I'm just like, there's such a gap in how we understand things. And when I was talking to my students, I'm like, why, like, your doctoral students and they're still not talking to AI correctly, or they're misunderstanding what it does. Or like, I had a conversation, I was like, how do you know if you can trust the output?
Mhm.
And they were all like, you can't. And I was like, well, I mean, yes, I'm always suspicious of it, but ask it to explain itself. And typically it's going to tell you it lied in the middle of the explanation. It's going to be like, oops, like you caught me, like kind of like a teenager would.
Mhm.
And like the more I dig into this and I talk to my students and then I'm looking at LinkedIn, I'm just like, all of these solutions, like no one's teaching people how it works. No one's teaching people how to engage with it. And if they do, they have information from 18 months ago when they did a PD on it.
Right.
And so I keep coming to the same place. And again, like I believe education moves in cycles and that we can learn from looking at it from a cycle perspective.
Mhm.
And when I look at that and I look at like the internet, when the internet came out,
Right.
like none of teachers didn't understand how the internet functioned. Or like when because before Google you had the Yahoo search bar and I was a
Right.
Yahoo girl. I was not a
Oh, and then there was the one I can't remember. I was thinking about this the other day. There was one that would search all of the searches for you.
I think that was Bing. Isn't it Bing?
No, it had something like with a dog or something or a bird. Like it had some animal.
Hmm.
But I remember I would use that one and then it would say, well, this is what when I was in college, so early 2000s. And it would be like Yahoo says this.
Oh, I know it. I don't remember what it was. Yeah.
But it was something with an animal, like dog or bird. And it's gonna drive me crazy. But I was literally thinking about it the other day.
Hmm.
That's what I would use because then if my teacher was just like, "Oh, well, did you use Yahoo?" I could be like, "No, because I use this other one," which led me to Yahoo
Hmm.
and everybody else.
Yeah.
Um, and I could just find things faster at that point.
Yep.
I felt like, and it didn't limit me. Just like for news, I'm always looking for biases and things like that. So I'll look at CNN, I'll look at Fox News, and I take it and synthesize it myself because they're both giving biases,
Yeah.
no matter what anybody says.
Absolutely.
So that's when I search, I try and find the opposite.
Hmm.
So this other search engine helped me when it would search all of the others.
Yeah, but so if we think about going back to like if I look at that cycle of education,
Mhm.
right? So we kind of we kind of we kind of fudged it up. We were like, here's all the information at your fingertips, but we didn't teach anyone how to vet the information.
Correct.
So because at the time, the only people that could create web stuff were super smart people that were putting out good information. But then as the internet became more of a pop culture phenomenon and became more widely available, then it was like, okay, now we have to start teaching in our schools, like, don't use Wikipedia, don't use anything that's not a .gov because anybody can make a website. And when I think about that, if we had just talked about how the internet works,
Mhm.
then we would have foreseen, proactive versus reactive. We would have foreseen that like that gatekeeping wasn't going to be forever of who could post stuff.
Right.
Like, really, it was a matter of you need something to host. And if you can host information, you can be on the internet. Ta
Mhm.
da. And, with AI, we're making the exact same mistakes. We are not showing teachers how it works. They don't understand what tokens are. They don't know that it's probability based. They don't know the difference in an LLM, a GPT, and agentic AI, etc. Because we're just giving them a professional development from this tool that they just invested all kinds of money in.
Right. And now they're forced to use.
And now they're forced to use it. And now the district has spent all the money and there's no money left to look at like continuous improvement or continuous development of teachers with AI. And I think that it's time for us to realize in education that no one is going to step in and fix that for us. We're going to have to fix it ourselves. Like, we're gonna have to get out there. We're gonna have to go after the information. Like,
Mhm.
IBM Skills Build is a great platform. Coursera has great information and courses on the AI technical stuff. We have to stop being uncomfortable with technology
Mhm.
and we have to start being uncomfortable with, I need to understand how this works. and the how is really important for us.
I agree. I think one of B's teachers last year has really embraced he's on the younger side of things, um, but he's really embraced AI, and even I asked a question in a parent-teacher conference, and he was like, "Let me ask ChatGPT." And because I said that it was a question about, a vocabulary software that they use that kinda like Alex in math, where it moves you along and things like that, and I was asking if it could bring he's been using it since 5th grade, and it's supposed to they do quizzes on it, and
Hmm.
I'm like, "Can he get a word from 5th grade in 8th grade?" Because that's a long time. Like, granted,
Yeah.
he should know it, but or does it quiz just the last month, the last
Right.
6 months? Um, because he has realized that the longer he takes to answer, he has to do a certain amount of minutes each
Hmm.
week, and the longer he takes to answer, the less words, which
Hmm.
means the less he's learning, but that means that he'll probably retain it more, or there's less to remember when it comes to the quiz.
Yeah.
So he's figured out that, and so we were having a conversation, and I had gone on the software's that company's site. I couldn't find the answer, and he's like, "I've never thought about this before." So
Hmm.
he went and asked ChatGPT, and he's like, yeah, it looks like they can." And I'm like, "They use this as seniors too, so is it gonna go from 5th grade to seniors? Because that's a whole heck of a lot
Yeah.
to remember." And I get that, yes, they should remember and your vocabulary should grow, but you also have kids who do the bare minimum.
Yep. Hmm. They're gonna cheat the system.
Right, and that's what happened. He was using it and trying to get as many right as he could and trying to grow his vocabulary, and then they started having tests on it, and he started not doing well on the test because it was bringing up words that he didn't remember, that he
Hmm.
hadn't seen. So, at that point, he's like, "I'm gonna do the absolute bare minimum."
Well, and I think that's another great example, right? Because Alex is an adaptive math software and it now has other subjects. But did the teacher even know what adaptive truly meant there?
Right,
And did Alex teach them how it works? Because there is a reset button you can hit in Alex to reset it.
right,
So, like my students who are in college that use it, we have to manually reset when they retake a course because they failed. Otherwise, they'll get easier at adapted things than what they're supposed to start with.
right.
But that teacher wasn't told how it works, I guarantee you.
No, and he even looked and he said, I was like, "Is there a setting you can put to where it's like the last month, last 6 months?" And he's like, "It doesn't look like we can limit it." But what he realized was instead of a multiple choice, select all that apply quiz, he could have them do a writing,
Hmm.
and they had to use certain words. And I should probably have Brandon show me what it was because it's all done on the computer, so I've yet
Yeah.
to see any of these. But it was a writing, and he said a lot of the boys liked the writing more and seemed to be more successful. And I'm like, well, probably because it's more
Yeah.
productive than just what is this mean or which sentence uses this word correctly.
Yeah. Well, and like what publishers like Alex, or I say publish, what ed tech companies like Alex will do is just sell you the next big feature.
Right.
And that next big feature could be something that was already prevalent, or it could be something that was already like factored into the existing account, but no one knew how it worked or how to use it.
Right. And even he said he had used it a couple times, and he said, I think going forward, because they had to take a quiz every 2 to 3 weeks. He said, I think going forward, I'm going to do more of these because it will hopefully limit. And it was interesting because most of the teachers graded, if you did your minutes, you got your full credit. Well, he was grading off accuracy.
Hmm.
And I was like, that's great. But now they stress about that because now they're getting dinged on the quiz
Yep.
and they're getting dinged on that. And so, like, Brandon would ask me questions
Hmm.
or, like, what does such and such mean? Or which sentence this, because he was afraid to miss it. And then he's not learning anything at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. And the more I talked to my summer school students in the doctoral program, the more it was like it's a systematic problem because the
Mm,
course is about AI. But the more we started talking about it, they were like, we don't get professional development where we get to explore something. We don't get professional development on how this thing works. We just get a job aid and it's like, use it.
Yeah.
And if we really think about the educational profession, we are on the front lines of teaching the workforce how
Mhm.
to engage with these types of things. And if we don't know how to use it and how it works, and we're not teaching, that means that we can't then teach them, because the way that I teach is I have to learn it myself and then communicate it from a level of understanding to my students. So if we don't do this, we have no control in the situation.
Right.
And unfortunately, the kind of the output of our discussion was it's going to be on us to do it on our time, which is like the historic, story of my life as a teacher
Right.
or as an educator, is that, yeah, on your downtime, you've got to go and like figure everything out because you don't get time to do it when you're on the clock. And so that kind of led to me reflecting on a lot of the ways that, in the past maybe month, like our system has gotten so many like leveled upgrades
Mhm.
and our course designs as a result, with AI resistance, with accessibility, with finding ways to do NGN questions through HTML and web hosting. Like all of these different things are coming because I understand the tool.
Right.
And because I have a coding background, like, yes, I'm a math teacher, but I took coding voluntarily in high school for 4 years and went all the way through. I can do HTML because, MySpace, like, I wanted to learn how to do my MySpace. So I learned HTML. I learned CSS when I was doing accessibility. So, like, these are all areas that, like, I felt like I needed a background to accomplish something. So I taught myself and I did it. And what I'm noticing now as I'm having conversations with people around AI, I'm like, you don't understand how a computer fundamentally works because you've never taken a coding class.
Right.
Like with the codex coming out, for instance. I was like, well, the way automation works with AI, so the thing that we all hate is the one-shot automations. The way that those work is they're typically Python scripts or they're Playwright, or there are these packages of computer programming that sends everything at one time and has it execute multiple things.
Right.
And if you don't understand code, you don't understand how that's happening, and you're fundamentally misunderstanding that what you're seeing in the UI is one thing, and in the background what's being done is a completely different thing.
Right.
And I think that that's an important distinction for people, is when you're engaging, especially with customized systems or even with like codecs, for instance. Like, yes, it is a coding tool, but I can use that coding tool to run my computer because it's writing a program that automates using Microsoft Word on my desktop, and I understand that because I understand what's possible with the code and I understand how automation scripts work, but the average AI user doesn't. And so my students, when I was showing them codecs, they were just like, well, how did you even figure out that it could do that? And I was like, because that's what automation is. I was like, programmers have been using it because I kept saying, like, I don't want to have to write a script to do this, but I know it's possible. So why isn't there a solution for me that I don't have to write the script for? Because I'm innately lazy and I don't want to do it. But like I've known it's possible because I've understood how it works.
Right.
And so when Codex came out, I was like, this is hinky. Like something's not right here. And then the more I experimented with it, I was like, oh, it writes the automation and it does the thing that you want it to do, but you can just talk to it and get it
Right.
to do it.
So you talk to it, but you're not actually coding.
Right. All that's happening in the back end. So what people, again, when they use this tool, like with my doctoral students, I was trying to explain to them, I'm like, they're like, well, it's not code. I'm like, but it is. Like the way that it's understanding how to go to your desktop and how to find things is exactly what terminal would do if you were coding it and you were telling it in code. So yes, you're talking to it in the UI, but what you're not seeing under the hood is the automation and the scripting and the code. So when you ask what's possible with this tool, you're going to get a very different answer than if you ask me, because
Mhm.
I understand that side of the tech.
Right.
And I'm like, the sky is the limit because if you can code it, it can do it. And there's some pretty smart coding machines around the world these days.
Right.
So it's basically limitless in a lot of ways.
It really is. Because I mean, if you can figure out if we in the 90s could figure out how to make our graphing calculators play games,
Right.
what are those same kids gonna be able to do with this?
Right. And I think a lot of the fear that happens with AI is because they don't understand how it fundamentally works either. So, like, it can't think, it can't reason. These, ed tech companies are selling this big dream of like the reasoning model. And I'm like, can we stop calling it that? Because it's not reasoning. Like, it's not making inferences, it's not making judgments, it's not doing any of those things.
No, 'cause
But,
even ChatGPT's thinking mode isn't truly thinking,
right.
and it's quite entertaining if you read, like, what it's thinking.
Yeah, like the thoughts as it goes through, I like the like, I have to get this right, exclamation point.
Right. Or the user wants this, but I'm not sure. I think I need to do this and this. Let's try this and see if it's like okay. I'm like paraphrasing there, but like I'm like, this is why I always see the meme that comes across on Instagram or Facebook, and it's like the doctor you're going to be seeing in 10 years is getting through med school and chat GPT using chat GPT. And I'm like, nobody in med school that's using chat GPT is going to be graduating because it
Yeah.
cannot think and cannot do the things that med school is asking them to do.
Right. And especially not diagnose, not intervene, not, I mean, you can't fake it in clinicals either. Like,
Right.
so I think it goes back to like, we have to get uncomfortable and learn the tech. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to prepare students for the tech. Otherwise, we're not going to know how do we preserve our unique skill sets and make sure that those unique skill sets are leveraged in educational settings. So, when we're looking at Joe Schmo on Reddit or LinkedIn and Joe Schmo has no technical background, like that's not a .gov or a .edu, y'all. Like you shouldn't be following that
Right.
person.
Well, and I think social media at times, or a lot of the time, I'm trying to think of how to say this nicely too. It makes people feel more important than they are, or it gives people the space to feel and act more important than they really are, or that they're more knowledgeable
Mm-hmm.
because they took a 30-minute PD or they read an article.
Mm-hmm. Or they attended a conference and now they're an expert.
Right.
And I think like in general, I don't really cruise LinkedIn for more than like laughter purposes because my feed is like ridiculous because I have like again with the AI content, I have like everyone hates AI and it's awful, which I just have to cackle at 9 times out of 10 because I'm like that's ridiculous. Or I have like a bunch of really uninformed people and like I read their stuff and I'm like that's fundamentally wrong and then I click their profile and I'm like you have no experience in tech. Why are you posting tech stuff when your job experience and like yes, not everyone keeps their LinkedIn up to date. I am very guilty of that. I don't keep my
Oh, I
LinkedIn
don't
up
think
to
I've
date.
updated mine in like 4 or 5 years. I don't even go on ever since I got that weird message from somebody that was very, like, cult-like. Like, I just don't.
That's a great reason not to go there. But like I click in and I'm like, okay, what's their experience? Like that's what I want to know. But I don't feel like a lot of people click in to know their experience. And I also don't think like the only way to filter information is for you to teach yourself. Like if you're doing a research paper, what do?
You teach yourself about the topic.
You teach yourself about the topic. Why aren't we doing that?
Right.
Like,
Because I also think it sounds scarier too. Like, I remember when the internet first came out, some of my friends had, like, free reign with all of it, and, like, my parents had it on lockdown, and I couldn't message people unless my dad approved of them, and this, that, and the other, which is great because it went from, like, "Oh, all these people could be they're not lying about who they are," when everybody totally was lying about who they are,
yeah.
or 90% of them were. Um, And, like, there's the thing, like, my parents gatekeeped it so much, and then other people had free reign, and there's somewhere in the middle,
Yeah.
and we need to get to where we're somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. No, and I think the only way to get there is to do the research,
Right.
and to do it from legitimate sources and to tackle it just like we do anything else. We have the skill set. We teach ourselves new things every day.
Mhm.
And it might be super uncomfortable, but like go find a solid source and look at how it works so that you can take it apart and put it back together and don't look at crowdsourced information that's the equivalent of Reddit where anyone can act like they're an expert
Right.
and get a forum and a microphone to their voice because that's perpetuating the problem that the tech companies don't want to teach us because they just want to keep getting that contract. Because
Right.
again, like I was telling my class this, I was like, with a $20 license, I can do everything Magic School's doing 100 times better. Like, no one wants us to figure that out because
No.
they figured out that education, we will pay all kinds of money for tech solutions that promise to fix whatever it is that never actually fixes it.
Right.
And the thing that we kept coming back to was like we don't have control over budgets. We don't have control even at like even my educational leadership principals. They're like, we don't have control over this. We have no control
Because it goes through a district.
because it goes through a district, because it goes through a superintendent, it goes through a state. There has to be a policy. There has to be vetting and vendors and this. And I'm like, but you know what you do have control over? Yourself.
Mhm.
You have control over yourself. And you can, we all know that we're working outside of work hours, even if you're not a teacher. Like we write courses and you and I are working at all hours because that's just how it is.
Right.
It doesn't make it right, but that's just how it is. And we will both go and teach ourselves about something new so that we can effectively leverage it. And I think
Mhm.
that that is what has been a power for us is we've evolved with AI because we're keeping up with the tech and we're understanding the tech and we know
Right.
its limitations. We explore it, we push the limitations, we push the boundaries. And I just think that that's the only thing that we have control over in education is ourselves.
Yeah.
Because you don't even have control over your classroom because your curriculum comes boxed. You're like the only thing, and like whenever we were having a discussion in my classroom, it was like, well, Dr. Robinson, how do we fix this? Like, we're not in control. And I was like, but you know what? You can control yourself.
Right.
You can educate yourself. You can be a voice. You can advocate. You can do all of those things. And hopefully, other people will see it and they'll want to educate and explore. And then that's how we actually turn the tide.
Right. You could be that person, the squeaky wheel, gets the grease. Be the squeaky wheel. Figure out the limitations, if it truly does an IEP correctly, or if it truly does and if creates an effective lesson plan. And if it doesn't, be that squeaky wheel.
Yeah, I feel like that's when you take to LinkedIn.
Yes.
That's when you go to LinkedIn and you're like, "Okay, this is a bad tool. I need to add my voice out there being like, hey, I just tried to make this lesson plan. Can you believe what it did?'"
Right.
Because at the end of the day, then that's impactful to that company, and that's gonna stop kind of this predatory behavior that I feel like tech has with education.
Right. Because it's always the one-stop shop solution because we don't have time.
Yeah, exactly, and it's and then the time that we gain is then, like, not given back to us.
Right, it's replaced with some other.
It's replaced with some other administrative, like, paperwork type thing.
Right, or they're paying for all this money. Because I remember, like, headline, we could leave the comments, and then nobody in my school knew for, like, a year that we could leave comments, and then someone figured it out, or it came down as a directive from someone, and then we were all scrambling, and I'm like, "And then are we really using it effectively?" Because then it came down that I had to give every single child a comment in every single subject. Well, now
Mhm.
you've just tripled my workload. And some kids, they're just average in a subject. I didn't have anything good. I didn't have anything bad. And or like one of my students who she and I keep up with each other on Facebook as well as her mom and her grandmother. And she always will repost the things that say, "Oh, because I talk too much," or like, "I was the student that got the comments on this," and she tags me in it, and I'm like, "Yes, that was probably what I." So What was her report card filled with? If I didn't have anything positive or, like, she didn't need to study more or she wasn't doing phenomenal, I just put that she talked a lot in class. And I mean, imagine getting that and she was a 4th grader, so, I mean and now, we make jokes about it, and she was fully aware that she talked too much. But now her 4th grade report card is full of she talks too much because the comments there was, like, all of 10 comments to choose from.
Yeah.
And now I'm doing what elementary school, you teach 7, 6, 7, 8 subjects, and now I'm doing that times 20 something kids.
Yeah. In the name of personalized feedback.
Right.
That's not personalized.
No. And not a good use of my time and not a good use of anybody's time reading it.
See, and I think there's a separate discussion for us to have too on the fact that the tech world makes tech without consulting us as educators.
Right.
Because we would have said that's a horrible idea to give 10 preset comments. That would have been something that we could have very easily pointed out. And I feel like that's the magic of Learner Journey Labs is that we balance and we bring education and tech together. And it's that blending of things that makes it so powerful because while educators need to learn tech, tech people need to understand education
Right.
or they have to stop developing solutions and start paying us to consult because their stuff is just junk 9 times out of 10.
Right. But instead they know that they can just create another solution and there's another 4,000,000.
Yeah. And that solution, like, where's the town hall on that? Like, where's the qualitative survey? Where's the input that we've been clamoring to give as educators into the tech system? So I think it's a two-sided thing. Like we need to learn tech, but tech also needs to learn education or like we need to hire consultants and all get in a room together and just sit there and like hash it out. And I think that that's where like our synergy happens is like I've kind of started driving into that tech space so hard that when we have conversations with people at Learner Journey, and we've got like Peyton who works for us, who is a very technical coder and does a lot of like Claude coding. We've got people from both sectors and we listen to each other and we take input from each other. And I think that's what makes our solutions so much stronger.
I agree. Even though I don't understand most of what Peyton ever says. She was asking me something the other day and I'm like, she's like, I think this will work. And I'm like, how about you try it and get back to me? Because I'm no help.
Yeah. No, but you'll ask, right? So like
Yeah.
you have questions, you'll ask some of us that are more technical here and then you find out and you're like, "Okay, let me adapt it."
Right.
So I think that that's just a place that we have to get to is like ed tech can't be ed tech. It needs to be ed tech.
Right.
So, thank you guys for
Thank you.
listening to us today and our mini rant on educational people needing to be technical. I'm sure there'll be a follow up episode about everything that's wrong with the tech industry because they never talk to educators. But we hope you've enjoyed this episode.